Hello, everyone. How's it going? Azren, the language nerd here. Hope you're doing very, very well. Welcome to episode number 72 of Azren's Journal. For those of you who are new to my YouTube channel or perhaps new to the segment on my YouTube channel, this is pretty straightforward. It is the segment on my YouTube channel where I talk about my personal language learning journey and, of course, give you guys a whole bunch of different language learning tips. And I'm really tight on time today. I cannot go more than 12 to 14 minutes because literally in 15 minutes, I have a call that starts and then I've got some teaching right after that. And so let's dive right in. Today, we have two things we're going to discuss. The first thing is some personal updates. And then the second thing is the primary topic of this video. So the personal updates. Number one, if you have not done so, I would highly recommend you go visit my website. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. There we go. I just put it in azrenthelanguagenerd.com/free-resources. Number one, I'm just really, really proud of myself on this website. It took me a lot of work to be able to put it together. I had to learn a lot about websites to put that together. And now it's way more user-friendly than it used to be. And I'm super, super excited. And it's just going to get better with the weeks to come. I keep learning more. I think it's going to become even visually more appealing. There's going to be nicer pictures. It's going to be a faster registration process. Basically, the link I put in there is a link for some free resources we offer for language learners. And so I'm excited about that. Another personal update here is a language learning update. It has to do with my Gujarati. I'm feeling more and more comfortable with Gujarati as time goes by. The biggest unlock for me, and maybe this can be something that helps you guys watching this video, the biggest unlock has been finding opportunities, a scheduled and regular opportunity to be using my Gujarati every single week. It's scheduled, and that's kind of how it's going to work. So I've got 2 days in the week that I've created for myself where I have to use Gujarati. One is where I'm actually working with two people and teaching them Gujarati. And the second one is a Gujarati conversation group that I have started up. And so I run both of those, both the conversation group and the class. So that's forcing me twice a week to really sit down and use my Gujarati and use it properly. I did that a very similar strategy for my Mandarin a while back, a couple of years ago, and that really helped me tremendously there. And now I've done it with Gujarati, and it's helping me tremendously with Gujarati too. So if you have, what you might want to figure out is for yourself, how are you able to create some opportunities every single week where you sit down and you must use the language that you're trying to learn, and there's no excuses. And that's going to look different for everybody. The final personal update before we jump into today's topic is a YouTube update. So you guys may or may not have noticed, I've been making some how to teach videos. They're going to be released most likely every single week. That's the plan as of right now. So I've made 2 so far. And there's actually going to be one that's released probably tomorrow or Thursday. I'm recording it today. So I'm excited about those. It's fun to talk about my experiences teaching foreign languages. And so I'm very, very excited. It's a fun new chapter, and I'm curious to see where it all ends up. Now, with that aside, let's talk about today's topic, today's language learning topic, which is, what is the topic for today? Oh no, let me actually look. It slipped my mind. What is our topic for today? How embarrassing. In 73 or 72 episodes, I don't think I've ever forgotten what the topic for the day is. Hang on. I hope I wrote it down. Did I write it down here? If not, we're going to have to, here we go. Oh yes, how to get better at forming sentences. I'm feeling quite embarrassed here. Now, many language learners struggle to form sentences. They really struggle to figure out how to build a sentence in their target language. And there's a couple of tips I want to give you. The first tip is I want you to ask yourself, what is your overall level in your target language? If you are more on the beginner side of things, understand that forming sentences is going to be difficult. Like, it's going to be hard. You're just a beginner. And so sentence formation is challenging. Okay? Also, I want you to understand that sentence forming is actually a very large, very broad skill. It's a very, very broad skill. What I mean by that is forming sentences has a lot of subcategories of skills. You have to understand lots of grammar points. You have to understand a lot of vocabulary. You have to understand the order of words in a sentence. You might have to understand how to form different types of sentences. For instance, in French, forming questions is wildly different than forming just a simple statement. You know, you might have to understand how to make things plural. So in English, I would say, for instance, one car, but two cars. There's an S at the end. And if you didn't know that you have to add S at the end of words in English to make it plural, in other words, more than just one, you're going to struggle to form that sentence. So there's a lot that goes into sentence formation. That's the first thing. So I do not want you to go into this thinking they're going to find some kind of quick trick or quick hack that helps you get better at forming sentences. Likely not. Okay. Now, the second tip I want to give you is journal. Journal on a regular basis. I prefer that you actually write your journal because that really is a great exercise for sentence formation. Writing is a great exercise for sentence formation. So journal on a daily basis. If you journal and you write every day, you're going to start to get better at forming sentences. Third tip I'll give you is practice forming sentences practice forming sentences about one topic at a time. For example, you might say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks focusing on writing sentences about my city. So maybe you practice, my city is very big. My city is in Canada. My city is called Calgary. My city is this. My city is that. I like my city. It's my favorite city. And you start to talk only about your city. Maybe after that 3 weeks, you're going to only practice questions. Then you're going to only practice things in the past tense. Then you are only going to practice things in the future tense, etc. Do things thematically, and that will get you comfortable, at least with those particular topics or subjects that you chose. One thing that's funny about fluency is I find, has a lot to do with you being comfortable speaking and communicating about a certain set of topics, right? So if you're able to have small talk, if you're good at small talk, people might think you're super fluent. They're like, oh man, this guy's fluent. He can do it. He can do it. Wow, look at this guy go. But you're just good at small talk. You're good at saying, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm good. How about you? How are you? Blah, 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 blah. Maybe that's what you're good at. So fluency, it's a different topic, but fluency comes from you being reasonably comfortable with a wide enough amount of topics to come across as natural when you speak. And so if you practice forming sentences about very specific topics, subjects, and themes, and you strategically pick those out based on what you think you would actually use most frequently in your day-to-day conversations. Oh, thought I heard something funny. Not only will you get better at forming sentences, but you will also start to notice some improvements in terms of your fluency overall and how comfortable you feel in the language. Tip number 4 is take private lessons. They can be a little bit pricey depending on the language, depending on the resources available, but private lessons is a great way to get practice with conversation. And conversation is all about forming sentences, and you can use that private teacher as a resource to help you form those sentences correctly and properly. If you've not done so already, I think I've talked about it once, maybe twice before. You may even want to look at a little bit of actually, no, that doesn't apply here. I take all that back. But yes, the private teacher, I think, is a great strategy that can be good for a lot of you. Tip number 5, or perhaps tip number 6, I can't remember, one of the two. When it comes to forming sentences, I would also, how do I say this? I would also practice, for some of you, it might make sense to pay attention to how other people form sentences. Pay attention to how others do it in videos, in audios, in podcasts, in books. Pay attention. Ask yourself, how are they forming that? Like, why is that sentence worded the way it is? And start asking yourself that question. A lot of people I find who struggle with forming sentences, people who struggle with that, they are people who often understand, depending on their level, but often when they hear people, they just listen for keywords, and hearing those keywords helps them piece together the meaning of the sentence that was said. And what I need you to do, and I'm going to push you to do, is when you hear things, ask yourself why, or when you read things even, why did the person write/say that the way that they did? That will help you. That will help a lot of you quite a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. And I think we're on tip number 6 now. Tip number 6 here is, I'm awful forgetful today. I had one more that came to mind. I had one more tip that came to mind, which was, yes, I remember. Conjugations. Depending on what language you're learning, you probably have to work on your conjugations in order to properly know how to form sentences. If your language does not have conjugations, verb conjugations are not really a thing, well, maybe that's not quite as important, but many languages have these verb conjugations, sometimes based on tense, or based on subject, based on cases, based on all sorts of different things, right? Plural, singular, masculine, there's a lot of things that can go into this, right? And so sometimes it'll really help if you focus on learning those, and it will help you a lot in that sentence formation. All right, everyone, let's wrap this up here. As I said, I have a call that now starts in 3 minutes, so I officially have to cut this video. I hope this was useful. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now. See you.